Hi, it's KCCK's Culture Crawl. I'm Dennis Green, and my guest today is Josh Henderson, who's been on the show before a few months ago. Josh is a Grant Wood Fellow at the University of Iowa, just kind of ending his year of residency with a big event coming up. First off, Josh, welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back.
So you've been in Iowa for about a year, getting close to a year?
Yeah, I guess the 9-month mark, something like that.
Okay. And before we talk specifically about the program that's coming up, just kind of globally tell me about your impressions of your experience here and living in Iowa and working at the University of Iowa, teaching and working on your projects.
Totally, yeah. I mean, it's been great. I think I've been to Iowa once before this and had a really nice time. But it's been super cool to just see how much is going on in this state, and also different there's states like Alaska or parts of Wyoming that are known for you gotta go here, it's this beautiful thing, whatever. But I feel like Iowa on the surface isn't known for that, but I've been just discovering the beauty that is here in the state with the people, the surroundings. I'm loving the rivers, the lakes, cool fossils out in Coralville, just all these little things that one might not necessarily know about a place until they live there and they get to really appreciate it and see all that it has to offer. So I'm having a blast.
Well, and you've had a chance to get out and see a little bit more of the state in association with the research for your final project, which is coming up. So tell me, so it's surrounding, a very famous phrase, "The day the music died," which of course it relates to the Buddy Holly air crash in 1959, but then of course also highlighted in the phrase began with the Don MacLean song from the 70s. Both of those happened well before you were born. So at what point did you kind of get the inspiration for doing something surrounding this event?
Well, early on, there, as part of the residency, they're like, all right, you have to do a thing at the end, and I really like, researching lately with projects I've been writing to see, historical things related to the time we are in now, and also just how things change and develop over time. So I was doing some Google searches on what's going on in Iowa, and found some cool things here and there. And then this one, which I had tangentially heard about, this plane crash. I was like, oh, as a musician, that leaped out at me a little bit, and I started kind of digging a little bit more into it and finding also the tragic aspects of these 4 really young guys, Buddy Holly, Richie Valens, Big Bopper, and the pilot, Ralph Peterson. And just, that's so sad that these folks who are just babies, I think Valens was a, teenager, 17 or something like that. But then also upon researching, just discovering how influential these folks were as just, as kids to the music that I grew up listening to and the music that we have today, and all kinds of things from the Big Bopper coining the music video term. All kinds of Chicano rock from Valens. I didn't even know Richie Valens was Mexican, Ricardo Valenzuela. So these little things, and just what they did with their super short but explosive careers. And I feel with art and my music, I like to take specific events, but also have a macro sense of things. So this is something we all have to deal with at some point, which is passing and death. And it's always if we could have one more day, one more night. That's the title of the work, is One More Night, and just kind of globally how that applies to all of us.
You're a violinist, and of course your own work, and then your Warp Trio, which you brought in performance to the University of Iowa a few months ago, is, I call it genre bending, but but your training is of course mainly on the classical side.
Yes.
And so tell me how your music is affected. And you talked a little bit about music you listened to growing up, but your music and your classical training and the writing that went into this piece affected by these musicians who are pop and rock. So definitely on the other end from most of your training.
Totally. And I think especially if you go back to like, the 50s, like those boundaries between, rock and jazz. Jazz is such a relatively new thing at that point. And even classical music, we're like, you're, well, how many years ago is that? You're 60 years closer to like Bach and all those guys. Like that's people like Brahms. Like, I guess if you were someone my age back then, like my grandparents could have even, maybe seen some of these people we study about now. So it's, even though it's not that long ago, we're so much closer. But seeing that evolution is really interesting to me. And just like how music changes, especially in the past, 100 years, like so fast, and all these styles we have, from then, and how they've kind of evolved, and also stood on their own in certain ways. So in the composition, I tried to kind of pour into the essence of some of these things, and also just like maybe deconstruct a couple things, and also play with some of the, like, some of the, maybe the tropes of the days and stuff like that, and alter them, make them a little more funky. So for example, in the way the piece is constructed, there's like an introduction and a conclusion thing, and then sets of 2 little vignettes for each of the artists, one loosely based on a popular song of theirs, and the other just like a kind of a smaller, kind of more personal reflection, and then a kind of personal thing for the pilot. So, for example, like La Bamba. Everyone knows da 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 La Bamba. So I like kind of researched the history of that, and found it's like a traditional Mexican song they sing at weddings, and just trying to get into the history of that. And even that there's speculation it came from some African like slaves back in South America and Mexico. And so playing with some of those elements, and like introducing some newer elements into that, little elements of like hip hop, a little, little funky stuff here and there, things that this music inspired 50, 100, 200 years later, and trying to put it all in one kind of, hodgepodge of a thing.
Well, what you've done is create, a tapestry, I guess, for want of a better term, that incorporates, elements of the music of these men from, when they were alive, and then bringing other elements into it. That's going to take some serious musician talent to make happen. Who have you recruited to help you with this?
Oh, I got some cats on this one, and just had a couple little one-on-one rehearsals, and very, very excited that the folks are super, super awesome. So we have folks from Iowa area, Iowa City, and some folks from Chicago, and some regular collaborators from New York City. From Iowa, we have Dr. Damani Phillips, who's a local celebrity in these parts. He's a fantastic person and musician, playing the alto and tenor saxes. Also from Iowa, we have Sabrina Tappy from the Quad Cities Symphony, and Ramel Price, Adrian Gomez-Hernandez, who are current doctoral students wrapping up their studies at the university. And then from elsewhere, we have a longtime collaborator and friend from New York who's currently based in Chicago, which is really convenient. Silver Wallace, wonderful singer, vocalist, actor. And then we have Rick Martinez from our group, the Warp Trio, as well as Brendan Randall Myers, a wonderful guitarist and composer out of New York. And 3 really amazing dancers led by Jerome. Javier.
You're really incorporating a lot of different artistic bents. So you've got dance, you've got music, obviously. Any other visual components?
To have a little light show thing. Gabby Van Eck is a wonderful bassoonist, but she does light stuff at the Englert, and she's helped me out with some lighting. I did some video stuff that may or may not make it into the final thing, but we'll see.
So you're still, even though the performance is just over a week away, you're still kind of tweaking and figuring out what's going to go in there? like a true jazz musician, taking stuff in and putting stuff out right up until performance time. So the performance is coming up on the 4th of April, correct?
Yes, sir. Monday the 4th.
And that will be at Boxman, in one of the halls at Boxman?
Yeah, in the Stark Studio Theater. It's kind of when you go in just downstairs.
And what is the ticket price?
It is free.
It's my favorite price.
Yeah, mine too.
Well, So your residency, this is kind of your final-ish project, and then your residency ends with, I'm guessing, the semester, beginning part of May.
Yes, sir.
What's next for Josh Henderson?
I'll be back in New York. I have a couple things we're kind of waiting on, but definitely looks like we're kind of coming out of this pandemic stuff a lot more back on the road and stuff like that with the group. We had a pretty quiet year, understandably, this year, but things are starting to look like 2019, 2018, which is nice. So.
I'll bet you're excited to get back together with the other members of the Warp Trio and get back into more conventional performance recording and residency kind of situation moving forward.
Definitely.
Josh, it's been great having you in Iowa over this last year with your, the performances that you've been doing and the different programs at the university, and really looking forward to one more night, which is music and performance inspired by the Buddy Holly crash in Clear Lake and the day the music died. Again, coming up April 4th in the lower hall at Voxman. And you have a website that people can go to find out more about this event, but also more about, the Warp Trio and all the stuff you do. What is that?
Just joshhendersonmusic.com.
Okay. All right. Well, I thank you so much for being with me here today, and good luck with it. And even though you're going to be taking off from Iowa, I hope you come back and see us often.
All right. Thank you so much.
Josh Henderson. Again, joshhendersonmusic.com if you'd like to know more about One More Night. You can hear the Culture Crawl live on the radio many weekdays at 10:20, or download the podcast, watch or listen on your own schedule at kcck.org/culture, or however you get your podcasts. I'm Dennis Green, and I'll talk to you later.